Oh boy. It's alive, it truly is alive. After being utilized in very few horror films, we have finally gotten ourselves another female Frankenstein monster in the 2026 film, The Bride. First published in 1818, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein tells the story of a hideously deformed monster who is only looking for a friend. Good. And even though in the classic story, Dr. Frankenstein bows out at the last second at creating his bride, that still hasn't stopped several movie directors from taking their own shot at the woman. I have to say, this was a tough list to make. Not because there were so many good options, but because there were just so few options. So please, join me as we take a look at the top 10, strike that, top 5 best brides of the monster. In 5th place is going to be Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1994, which is largely considered to be a spiritual sequel to Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is no classic story being retold. This is one of the closest adaptations to any Frankenstein film there has ever been.
I will have revenge. Frankenstein!
And it's also one of the most critically panned. Coppola, who directed Bram Stoker's Dracula, is now the producer on the film, with Kenneth Branagh directing and starring as Victor Frankenstein. For one of the strongest literary adaptations of the book, it also seems to ham up a lot of the actors and the dialogue. The scene in particular that stands out the most to me is when the Frankenstein monster rips out Victor's wife's heart, Mortal Kombat style.
Fatality.
This is when Victor rivals, if not surpasses, the monster's insanity and brings Elizabeth back to life with an all stitched up face, even though the monster only attacked her heart. And my god, what an atrocious looking mess she is. Her hair is falling out, she has stitches covering her face, with stitches even almost closing one of her eyes.
She's beautiful.
Helena Bonham Carter plays the bride, and in the most sane yet insane moment in the whole film, while the monster and the doctor are fighting over her, she lights herself on fire, finally ending her roaring pain. Number 4, The Bride. No, not the new one. I did not manage to see this film before the rest of the world, but a 1985 lesser-known horror film. This right here was a gothic reimagining of the story, but it still pays many tributes and is openly admitting that it is inspired by the Frankenstein films.
Take your filthy hands off me.
Instead of Victor Frankenstein, we have Charles and his monster named Victor, who is played by Clancy Brown, the voice of Mr. Krabs, and Charles Frankenstein is played by Sting. If that doesn't get your attention, nothing in this movie will. Where the previous Frankenstein film on this list, every single character is over the top, here everyone is unlikable except for the monster. Charles has gotten so good at stitching together body parts that his new creation Eva hardly has a mark on her. However, this is the version where Frankenstein isn't creating the bride for himself, but for the monster. Like everyone else, she's immediately turned off by him, and Charles accepts her as his own. The best part in this movie is during a fight scene between Charles and Eva, where he explains to her that she was not born like any other human being. She was stitched together with other dead body parts, making her basically a living corpse.
I sewed you together out of corpses. I brought you to life by means of an electric charge. I created your body just as I created your mind. And I can uncreate it too.
Both films showcases a lot of disturbing elements to them, but this one seems to keep itself more subdued, that is until the grand finale where the monster finally gets happiness for once. That said, I feel like he doesn't deserve this, not necessarily as a reward, but as a punishment, because the bride, played by Jennifer Beals, is just all snobby and is looking for a different guy throughout the entire movie, even disowning Charles.
She'll break a few hearts, will she not, before she is done?
Perhaps.
Still though, it delivers a good message on how it doesn't matter if you look like a creature on the outside, what matters is what's on the inside.
Frankenstein created woman.
We're going to be going across the border on number 3 and heading over to the UK for Hammer's Frankenstein Created Woman. This 4th installment in the Hammer Frankenstein series introduces the first and only female monster. Instead of transplanting a brain into a different body, Dr. Frankenstein is transplanting the soul of his dead assistant Hans into the body of his girlfriend Christine. Peter Cushing, who played the Doctor consistently in 6 films in the Hammer Frankenstein series, is given the back seat as the female monster is the star of this film. As the son of a convicted murderer, Hans is framed for a death he did not commit, and while Christina is witnessing him be decapitated, she then takes her own life, only for Frankenstein to discover the 2 bodies and merge them into one. These 2 star-crossed lovers, though, have vengeance and go after the 3 men who wrongfully accused Hans of killing a bar patron.
Kill him. Kill him, Christina.
Christina is played by Australian model and ex-Playboy centerfold Susan Denberg in her final film role.
Hello. Who are you?
Does it matter?
Oh no. What are you doing here?
Is that important?
She's very mischievous in the part. While you watch so many other Frankenstein movies and people are automatically terrified by the monster, here it's a role reversal with the men being attracted to her, only for her to go ahead and kill them. After she kills the final man, she then commits suicide for the 2nd time, and hopefully now both her and Hans earn a much better place.
Forgive me.
Christina!
To quote Bill Murray, if you only see one movie this year, see Frankenhooker. That is an actual quote from Bill Murray, and this is an actual movie. This is actually the only Frankenstein movie on the list where the bride comes the closest to being a bride, because the accident between Jeffrey and his fiancée Elizabeth happened the day before their wedding. It's not quite the bride of Frankenstein, more like the fiancée of Frankenstein. After dying in an accidental lawnmower accident, Jeffrey takes it upon himself to bring Elizabeth back to life, but not to go ahead and put her head on the same old body because of how much she complained about her weight, but to give her the perfect body, and where is he gonna get that? From hookers. The film was directed by Frank Henenlotter, who also directed the Basket Case trilogy, but instead of wasting your time with Basket Case 2 and 3, you should watch his other movie Brain Damage, and then finish it up with Frankenhooker, because you'd be ending on a very high note.
Just put me on the back of your neck and everything will be fine.
My neck?
Trust me, Brian. Trust me.
This is a film where I could probably get restrictions added to my channel if I went ahead and showed any clips from it, so I'm just gonna say, with a fair warning, watch it for yourself. Even if I attempted to show any clips on here, it would only be robbing you of the experience of watching such an over-the-top, wacky, so-bad-it's-good film. And without question, the greatest Frankenstein bride of them all has to go to Elsa Lanchester in the 1938 film, The Bride of Frankenstein. This follow-up to the 1931 James Whale classic perfectly balances horror, sadness, and even comedy, although the sadness is very much allocated to the very end of the film. That is where Frankenstein actually fulfills his promise and makes the monster a bride, but it goes to show that you should be careful what you wish for, as she repents against the monster just like everyone else. And even though she's at the top of this list, if you went ahead and added up all the times the bride appears on screen in all of these Frankenstein movies, she would be at the bare bottom, only appearing in about 5 minutes of the overall film. From that standpoint, it might seem disappointing, but the film has such a great build-up to the bride that you don't even notice she isn't in the majority of it. And once you finally see her, that iconic Jack Pierce design stands out as legendary film history. It's also not the only role in the movie that Elsa Lanchester plays. She's also in the beginning of the film as Mary Shelley. Whether or not she would ever condone this, I guess we will never find out, but honestly, going from playing the Oster to playing the bride, in some ways, even though it's messed up, it feels very much like the film and the book have now gone full circle and is now one.
The Bride of Frankenstein.
And in the end, let me know what some of your favorite brides are. I wanted to go ahead and keep it more so in line with films that directly are referring to the Frankenstein movies, or some very loose adaptations, even though some of these took their high liberties. But I also didn't want to go ahead and shovel in other films that just showcase a female monster in them. But hey, if you want to do that, be my guest. Let me know in the comments how much you love Bride of Chucky, Bride of Reanimator, Poor Thing, and let me know what you think of the new film, The Bride, and see how it stacks up with the rest of the female Frankenstein monsters. This has been Clay Clay, telling you his top 5 favorite brides of Frankenstein, because I was bored.